can't take the final exam?
I shouldn't have to.
What?
I shouldn't have to,
You
because
shouldn't
I'm
have
done
to.
with school.
Well, neither should I. I've been here as long as she has.
Oh, my goodness.
Neither should I when you fail.
You guys, I tell you, fine, you know what? In honor of those two, I will cancel the final exam.
I knew when you started
No,
messing with.
I'll take it.
I won't.
No,
Why would you?
You're gonna cancel it. Yay, I'm not coming next week, but.
Cancel.
I didn't even decide.
Don't worry about it.
It'll be a fun class.
Don't worry.
Okay,
I don't.
it's totally up to you whether you want to come or not.
Stupid.
If it's gonna be an exam, I'll be here.
No, there won't be any final exam, but it'll be a good class.
Okay,
Okay.
there's gonna be food.
Well, I'm officially
Okay,
making you
So,
more
question
bread
though,
than
was there
everybody.
actually an exam?
Huh?
Was there actually an exam?
No.
I didn't think so. It was on the syllabus though.
5 out of 10.
I was following the syllabus.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, 5 out of 10.
I didn't think you.
Which nobody did good on that one.
Oh, it's
Font's nice.
Chapter 34.
Wait, which one didn't we do good on?
Chapter 34.
I did 30 worse than I normally.
Yeah, that's what I said, when you fail, but don't care.
That's not the worst I've done.
Economics?
I might have that last, this is from like several weeks ago.
Yep, I know you're missing one.
Yep.
Thanks, Joey.
My shoes.
Beautiful. It's colored again. You're welcome.
I love them a
Sweet.
lot, they're for sale.
It's yours.
I bought these early in school.
Yeah.
I can't wait to take some.
No, but they're just like, they're really nice shoes and they go with like a bed. Ariel's right.
You need some new highs, and I might cry, so.
No CFA.
It is seriously killing me when people say they're excited for the summer. I'm like, okay, so you're excited for CFA to die?
No, I'm excited for the summer because I actually did do something because there's more to life than CFA.
Hey, I
I'm
got
probably
it.
overly emotional attached to things.
Really?
Same.
Yeah.
I never guessed.
Alina, you've been here for 2 years.
I
This is
know.
my 12th year.
Yeah, I could
Like,
wait.
This has been my life
13
and it's
years.
I
over.
can't imagine.
This is my 13th year.
All good things must come to pass and then also
Well, it was gonna
CFA.
end next year. You're gonna have those last, like, what, 12 months? Come on.
Well,
Hey, they're still trying to have my class.
Mr.
That's
Sharkey,
so you can come back.
so I screenshotted that virus thing to my dad that it was like 2 weeks ago and he just said, don't do anything except shut it off. I'm gonna be like, this was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell him.
Good thing you don't do your banking on your phone?
That's all the other.
No, I don't even have a credit.
Okay.
All my notes like cash in my.
Okay, she's joking.
Oh, okay. You have to see.
This is my phone, I don't hear the joking part.
I know. Well, I do the same thing to Mrs. Sharkey. It's taken her years and she still doesn't get my humor. And a lot of times at home, it's like one of these. It's a joke grenade. You pull the punchline, throw it, and wait 8 seconds, and then somebody starts laughing. The worst is you tell a joke and then you gotta explain the punchline. It kind of ruins the entire joke.
Well, I mean, like, I always, I love it when people are just like, I don't know, and that drives me crazy. It's like, you have to have an answer for everything, right? Logic, there's gotta be some logic, even if, while I understand both sides.
Do you know why amoebas are bad at math?
Why what? Maybe.
Why amoebas are bad at math?
Not any wives, but.
Because they divide to multiply.
So.
I should have been more.
It's hilarious.
I know. Good kid jokes, right?
So, I get it, because I read that.
I made a character that was an amoeba once.
He was a
Oh, wait, wait, wait.
I was happy working, that's what.
His name is Trevor.
Trevor
Trevor the
I didn't like that.
Where's our other two?
They're going to McDonald's.
I know.
Hawaii.
Where's
Yeah.
the Europe McDonald's? Is that a campus
The
somewhere?
person on the other
Now
side.
there's one just down the street, but they're slow. So it could be a 20, 25-minute drive. Although they're not as slow as Wendy's. The Wendy's down the street is really slow.
They can
For real,
make me
it's
smug
insane.
Wendy's needs now.
It's like Chick-fil-A on a Saturday night or something.
Try Chick-fil-A on a Sunday.
They're all
There was a joke.
No,
Adam
stay up to it.
come in
We
on
don't
like
talk to
Sunday, maybe
Alex,
like a
come on,
free
you're
Wednesday
ruining
or
it.
something. Your Mother's Day meal.
I would be
And
one.
some people actually went in. I swear.
Yes.
They're running late.
Yeah, no kidding.
Emily,
Cause you just called Ellie.
so like,
Yeah, I walk outside and he goes, oh wait, never mind, there's someone here to listen.
I was gonna say, don't want it.
They have my food. Otherwise,
is important. They got you.
they got me fried.
Emily, those books that, you got,
Me too.
they're supposed to be.
Oh, look, it's adorable.
Who are they? Me too.
Oh, those like life pictures?
I'm trying to see if I can
Oh no,
find
mine are those like the same thing.
video.
Well, yeah, you
The
got
bag.
stuff.
Hey, did you get me fries?
No.
I got.
Welcome back.
It's only $1.50.
I said that you guys had run away with life.
That's how much I paid for water.
I just went to wire. Yeah, that's also. Yeah.
Oh no.
Literally.
Oh no.
Oh, because we can. Oh,
Yeah, I only got one.
Here, I'll take it.
No,
No,
no, you get the half for frying.
Okay,
You take the rest.
I got it.
Pass it around.
Okay, so pretty much in the news has been the huge, big,
Because there's like 5 fries in here. You don't have them.
yeah,
He literally took the.
Buy economics. Buy your own.
Looks like that's one.
So, I didn't say everybody had to buy their own.
I have no money.
Like, oh, you owe me $1. You still owe me
Good thing we're
$5.
talking about poverty today, because you didn't have any money, so we're talking about poverty.
My money today.
In the news today, the big thing, of course, was the viral, the ransomware attack.
Yep.
You haven't heard? If you get a strange attachment from somebody in an email, don't open it.
Oh,
I
wait.
don't open emails.
My mom said doesn't talk this stuff.
There's a huge virus going around right now.
Oh, it
That's
happens on your cell phone, by the way, too.
Yes, it
I
could
got it
happen
like
on
2
your
weeks
cell
ago.
phone.
It'll happen when you're just searching Safari, it'll come up, just
I know,
go into your
dude.
settings and delete like your Safari history, you're good.
Wait, but I have like 50 browsers open.
Delete them.
Close them all.
Go use that.
I just went to find them again.
Calm down.
Bookmark them. It's this nice thing called bookmarks. They work really, really well. Or you call, in some browsers call them favorites, and they work.
But then I have like 50
I always
things.
forget. I always forget about them though. Like if I want to.
I have like thousands.
No, I'm talking when you're on like your web browser on your phone, just delete the web.
The other thing, going along, if you don't have access to Microsoft's OneNote, try Evernote. Evernote is a free software. You're allowed so much space and so much usage per week. But what it allows you to do is you can save web pages. So if you're doing research, you can actually, especially for those of you going to college, if you're doing research on a project, you can, and when you're on the web, you can actually clip that article to your OneNote or your Evernote, and then be able to save it in a folder that's just dedicated to that project. So typically for me, if I find an article that is interesting for economics, I put it in my economics folder. Or if I find one that's for history, I put it in my history folder. It's really confusing if it's good for both.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
The actual tip when you're doing a research paper is to bookmark every page you
Correct.
ever go on to,
Exactly.
even if you're not gonna use it.
Because then you
You
have.
Because then you
need
can
have
cite
the-
it, you can cite this as one of your source material. The more source material, even if you don't quote it, it's all the better, right? Exactly.
Don't forget to do them, right?
Yeah.
I failed the research paper because I forgot to do my
Well, good thing I'm not that much of a stickler for doing the right way. You're gonna have your project done for next week, right?
projects. Don't
She's like, I'm leaving
She's
now.
leaving now, yeah.
I'm leaving now. I graduated. I got my diploma.
I was making sure that there was not a test, because I didn't think you gave out tests, but there was a test on the syllabus.
know.
We hadn't gone.
That was intentional.
Absolutely.
That was to make you guys squirm.
I was just like.
That was not.
So
See,
I've been done with my
You know what?
for a month.
That's right.
Fine, no ice cream, no. I'm kidding.
I won't say.
No, I drove all the way here and lost it all the gas money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Why would you drive?
Why would we?
Crazy thing, I'm just gonna yell out right now since you're about to leave, supposedly.
Yeah, she's never coming back.
Letters.
No, but
You wrote letters to everybody?
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, are you passing notes in class? Well, that's gonna cost you.
No, it's not, no, seriously,
Is it
you
handwritten?
got,
That looks like a note.
that's Alex's.
Should we read
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Read it.
I said I'll leave it.
No, I wouldn't read it.
He'll be in the bathroom for 12 hours.
Probably.
Yeah, I just was like,
Did he take his phone with him?
yeah.
Text him. Tell him hurry up. He's missing something important.
I'll be like, it's just the donuts you brought.
If he doesn't,
That will really
Do
make
it.
Okay,
this one's to me though.
Alina, is this gonna make me cry?
Probably.
It might,
Okay.
Mackenzie,
That's my sister?
Do I read it before?
Yeah.
After I do my makeup?
What?
That's what I need to know.
Like, look like a
You say it's one of my brother?
I'm gonna go in all caps, I'm missing the donuts.
Which brother? Don't you have two brothers? One older, one younger, right? Yeah, I had no. I had no.
Finally?
I don't even,
I've known Nick for about, him since 5th grade. But I
You
just
didn't know
known
Nick?
No, because he was upstairs,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was downstairs.
We
We lived
lived
for 2
in
years.
Devon.
Kelly, you've been known you that long, but I don't remember you for that long.
I know he did.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I remember when you guys joined.
What?
Little, I remember when you guys joined.
Oh, I remember, what was the kid's name? There were two brothers who always went, they were always really annoying.
Which ones?
Did you send him the text?
He'd always
Because
tell,
he's
he'd
here.
always tell somebody who's shorter than him. Like,
I said
anything
you're
you
missing
do,
the donuts in all caps.
Devin, your brother's
What
face,
year was this?
remember that picture that I
I
took?
think a few years ago.
Okay, so
That picture that I took at graduation of.
not what you're caught on the leg here.
Your brother's face in the background.
Wait,
Tell your mom to go
Josiah was one of
Oh
them?
my goodness, I
Was it
I
them?
can't remember his name. He had like shaggy black hair.
To say.
Yeah,
Share
that
the other
was
side of the
Josiah's
thing.
brother.
You'll have
They're
none.
all-
Guys, I'm
Yeah,
running out. What are you
yeah.
talking about?
I think I've lost the
Yeah.
class,
Yeah.
pretty much. That's supposed to be next week,
Feed me
no,
cozy ass.
because Emily will get mad at me.
Is it going to be bad?
Hey, you can thank
That one
Emily
Jonathan?
because she protested so much, she'll be no final exam.
I was like, why?
Oh my God, yeah.
Just like, yeah, I know.
I'd already told the history class before you guys came in here that there wasn't gonna be a final exam.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I can work,
So-
I can work all my time on.
No, that means that some of you are gonna struggle because your grade all mattered on your homework.
So we're gonna have 4 hours of.
You know what, I don't care. I'm done with high school.
Not 4 hours, 2 hours.
Why would I care?
No, we actually have stuff to do.
We do.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
productive stuff or just?
Yeah, in class, we've got our in history, you guys will have to talk about your family tree.
Oh, I thought you
Enjoy
were-
yourselves.
Guys, that is the
And-
best part of class.
I can't wait to talk about my family.
And in economics, I'll have something fun while we have ice cream.
Ice cream.
There's free ice cream, but it might bring, or my mom will bring, I don't know, so, yeah.
Don't worry, you'll be
I
covered.
should have skipped.
Thank
You might wanna like just give me the ice
Should've
cream.
Dude, I have.
Why? Is anybody here lactose intolerant other than Kayla?
I am, but I don't ever pay attention.
I'm just.
It's too
Well,
funny.
you know you're intolerant.
Yeah, I finished it and I got sick. But I'll be fine.
It was totally worth it, right?
Okay, so economics.
Oh, you're fine. I'm fine.
So we did chapter 35, we finished the book, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it it's the greatest book ever
It's
written
really
in the
not.
history of economics.
I know, it's so boring.
Oh,
I know, I love the fact that it's a 3-color thing, black, white, and blue. Even the graphs are in blue. It's like ridiculous.
That economics book, it's like, is it just New York? It doesn't look like they were promoting, that women and minorities are unfairly treated.
Correct, that's probably what they were doing. Economic growth. So, really gross, domestic product, GDP. That's a plan word,
Really
really
gross.
gross
Don't forget
domestic
to go
product.
really good.
It's really gross.
It's really gross. And so the GDP, it's really supposed to be real gross domestic product. I put the really in there just to be funny. Kind of bombed, but you know, hey, oh well,
Wait,
can't
really
get
gross domestic product.
What?
I was reading it and now it's funny.
Well, I saw
Are
the
you
really
sure
and the
you
weird,
weren't
so it
blind?
just
Sure, yeah, yeah.
She died.
Yeah, I got
She dyes it black like Mrs. Sharkey does.
Wait, what? I missed.
Although Mrs. Sharkey's now all gray.
Just still that black.
Yeah, no, it's all gray now. Jay said, see, it's closer to blonde than what it was originally.
Mrs. Sharkey is awesome.
Economic growth, of course, she's married to me.
That's not where I was.
That wasn't that funny, Emily.
Everything's funny when you're tired. That's how this works.
No,
It's
it's good. It's a good relationship, but.
Economic growth,
Smooth.
the importance. Reason why we want to look at economic growth is because that gives us the idea if we actually have job creation going on. One of the things that during the last 8 years of Obama is Obama talked about this great economic growth we had, but it never translated into creating jobs because there really wasn't any economic growth. If you look at where we were actually the number of people in the workforce today versus the number of people that were in the workforce in the past, we're at about where we were during World War II, after World War II. So that, and our population is much bigger than that. We are getting close to where almost 50% of the population doesn't work. That's a problem. That means 50% of the people that work are covering the rest of the population that doesn't. That means for one of me, there's two people, there's another person who's not working that I'm supporting. You can look at it that way.
And it's gonna encourage people not to work at all because, you know, if half the population isn't working, why should I work? I'm only one person, I can still
Correct.
and live like a.
When it becomes easier to not work, the human spirit will be to not work, to do what they want to do. And it's interesting, during the 1990s, there's right now in baseball, the other day I was listening and there was a big talk about the fact that in baseball, the number of blacks playing baseball today is almost what it was shortly after Jackie Robinson started playing baseball. That percentage has really gone down. I would say that the number of blacks playing baseball is down because in the 1990s, the Obama administration came out with this idea of basketball and really started promoting building basketball courts all throughout the United States so that they would have something for the kids to do. So rather than kids playing baseball, they started playing basketball. Because basketball, if you got a court, all it needs is a ball. And you only need 2, 3, 4 people actually to play basketball. Baseball, you have to have at least 6 or a good number of people because of the nature of the game. And it's a lot harder in today's. So I would say that the reason why the number of blacks playing baseball is down is because of the fact the initiatives by the Clinton administration in the 90s has perpetrated through almost an entire generation now to cause this. Yes?
The Obama administration.
Did I say the Obama? Oh, Clinton administration. Yeah, the Clinton administration has caused
Did you hear he's gonna
problems.
get impeached?
Huh?
Did you hear he's gonna get impeached?
Who? Trump? Probably. No, he won't. I
Mr. Sharkey,
I doubt it.
which do you think was worse, the Obama or the Clinton administration?
They're both terrible. The Obama administration is far worse. Bill Clinton's not a radical. Hillary Clinton's a radical. Bill is not. Bill is actually a little bit more reasonable. And like I always say, you know, the thing Bill Clinton liked to be president because he could get more chicks.
Obviously, to cheat on his wife, his own wife.
Well, it might have been a bit more of a political
Right.
matter. There's
Yes.
some scrutiny over if Chelsea's father is really Bill.
I would probably say it probably is Bill.
Yeah, but of course Hillary did kind of have a partner too.
Yeah, the question with Hillary is she really straight? It's always been the question with Hillary.
Why would she be
There's
lesbian?
people who believe that she's gay.
Well, that's crazy. She was married to Bill Clinton, of course.
There's a lot of gay people that are married that are actually gay.
Stop. Can you please stop?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like, what's his name that,
Oh,
you know, the Olympian who decided to change to a woman and divorce his wife.
Bruce Jenner?
Yes, him, her.
Oh, wait, what is it? I just dead named it. Did you guys hear that term before? Dead name? It's when you use the name of somebody who is transgender and now identifies by the opposite sex.
Who?
So if you ever say the word Bruce Jenner, you're dead naming him?
Well, that's.
Oh, too bad.
So-
Sorry. Not my problem.
He's
Get over it.
You
Cleveland.
hear what that one guy screamed during like something?
No.
Wait a minute, you can use.
Yeah, Okay, so again, the importance of economic growth is it raises your living standard. And it also maintains a national strength. The reason why our economy or we live the way we do is because we have economic growth. We are a developed country, not a developing country. The problem is, as I would say, we're an undeveloping country. We're actually moving in some cases the wrong direction in many respects. So like everything else that is good, you have to work for it. And we don't work for it, unfortunately. What do you yell to them?
You're not working
Somebody
for it.
said-
You don't know.
I don't even know how I could say it.
Okay, then don't say it. I don't want you in trouble.
Well, no, like, I just don't, like, oh, you're going to look at it.
I'll look at it.
Ready to take a pass it around?
Okay, so, let's see here, economic growth ingredients. Greater productivity, more natural resources, more saving and investment, and greater demand. One of the biggest things the environmental impact of the environmental movement has had, the impact it's had on our economy is because of they cut down the amount of natural resources that we have. Why is oil important to the United States? Because oil prices, if oil prices are high, we don't drive as much. Therefore means people are taking less vacations. This is bad. This is why when Clinton left office, and right when he was leaving office, gas prices started going up. And the gas prices going up, they're like, hey, oh, this isn't going to affect anything. This won't have any problem. And yes, it did. Unfortunately, it had a huge impact. We had an slight economic downturn because of it. Economic growth versus the environment. Harmful, dwindling supplies of safe energy. Increased pollution from growth. Here's the thing. Oh, so close. Just like you are to a bee. Increased pollution from growth.
It's passing.
Yeah, hey, it's passing, I'll take it.
What is
No,
it?
he is good, not just passing.
What did it say?
Economic growth versus the environment. Dwindling supplies of safe energy. What is safe energy? What's safe energy? Is oil safe energy?
I think so.
If we use more oil than a lot of these other countries, how come we're not more polluted than China? See, I would bet that the higher your standard of living, the more economically sound you are, the cleaner your environment can be. Because you can have on there some regulations that make things smart. The problem that we've run into is the environmental movement has gotten into things that it doesn't need to be involved into, rather than working on stuff that is important, which is clean air, clean water. Look at what the environmental did in Flint, Michigan. If you're not familiar with Flint, Michigan, they decided to change their water supply in Flint, Michigan,
Maybe that's why
and they
they're flooded.
ran it through,
Maybe that's why they're flooded then.
And they ran it through, they ran the water supply through these old pipes, and now the levels of lead in these pipes is skyrocketed, so that the point is they can't drink the water in Flint, Michigan.
Exactly, that's probably why they're flooded.
So that's where, we have to balance it. It's not one way or another. And it's, not energy at all costs. It's not environmental reasons at all costs. My favorite line is, well, if it only saves one person's life. Really? Is one person's life worth $100 billion? And how many people will die because of increased regulations because we don't do something else? See, there's always the law of unintended consequences on these things. And just because you have a regulation to protect somebody doesn't mean that somebody else isn't harmed in that protection. Think about the fact that drugs take a long time to become usable in the United States because of our FDA. Well, once these drugs are then allowed through all these trials and years and it costs us $1 billion, how many people have died that could have used that drug? All, huh?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. There's cancer treatments out there that, we don't know yet because they're not allowed for human trials because they're being held up. Then, of course, there's some people who say that, well, the cancer trials, nobody wants to cure cancer because they make too much money off of it, so they're hiding the cure for cancer. Just like there's motors out there that'll get 100 miles to the gallon, but I don't know if you've heard this one, Alex, but there's motors out there that'll get 100 miles to the gallon, but the oil industry has the patents on them and won't release them so that they can continue to sell more oil. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's an interesting theory. Economic growth, no lasting danger to the environment, no problem with resources, problems of waste disposal exaggerated. Of course, just this past week, did anybody hear about the collapse at the Washington State nuclear waste facility that's up there? There was one of the tunnels to their training area collapsed, and luckily there was no waste. They were making it out as this big impact, and nothing, of course, came about because nothing got ruptured. But it could have. And what it was is nuclear waste from nuclear weapons that was actually taken, that we had decommissioned. So that's one of those things, problems with waste disposal. What do you do with your spent fuel for your nuclear power plants? You can't go dump it in the ocean. That's what happened to the Japanese with that the tsunami and earthquake. They had that nuclear reaction. Now they're saying that, all these people in California are going to get cancer from it. I'm sure that.
What are you talking about Fukushima?
You guys probably don't remember Chernobyl. Of course, none of you were born, so I'm just kidding. But if you play one of the Call of Duty games, you actually go into the Chernobyl area and kill people. So, just in case you want to know. But, we got to be careful with how we dispose of things and being economical. One of the biggest problems that we have is we have not built a power plant in years. Now we're putting these solar plants and the windmills. Anybody ever drive US 30 out towards Indiana? You get to Lima, Ohio, or Lima, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's huge windmill farm out there with the wind turbines. It's pretty cool looking. It's kind of neat because all their lights flash in unison. There's like
season night is pretty cool.
200 and some of these things, and they're all flashing.
Class field trip?
Huh?
Class field trip?
Yeah, there you go. We were out there for our robotics competition. We go out there for one of them. Okay, chapter 36, farming in time of change. Yeah, what we do farming. It is important because farming is what we eat. And of course, some of us being vegans, remember you're talking about the vegan.
Yeah.
The problem that you run into is with stuff going on today, we met, I think Alina, you talked about it last week, is the engineered seeds.
Yeah.
And cross-pollinating with non-engineered seeds. And the people that it's being cross-pollinated with are being sued because they're violating the patents of the company that creates these things. And it's hard for unfortunately, it's hard for the farmer to prove that that's almost, you're proven guilty before you're proven innocent. You're guilty before you're proven innocent, which is sad. And some of these farmers cannot fight against that. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to come about in the next 5 years on a lot of this, with the genetically modified stuff and what kind of health benefits there are, or lack of health benefits from eating genetically modified food. They're making food that's genetically enhanced, so it is less susceptible to certain diseases, or can survive better with less water, or it can, certain kinds of pests won't eat it. Well, gee, if the pest itself won't eat it, maybe I shouldn't.
Yes, and
So-
part of the sad thing is that the farmers, some of them don't even know what it's doing to the people they're selling the food to. I mean,
Right,
they find
well,
out,
it's
and
not-
they're like,
It's
I
not,
can't afford to shut down my farm for 3 years to get rid of this. because
it's not the farmer's fault as so much as the companies they buy the seeds from. So I think, the problem that they have is with the seeds, if you're planting in an area to cross-pollinate, oh well, that's what happens. It's nature. You can't control what the bees do. The other thing too is that you have with, you got technology and science. There's a great commercial out the other day about how they're using smart technology. So they show this, they got this guy, he's got his iPhone or maybe his Android phone, I don't know, and he's sitting at his son's baseball game, watching the baseball game. And one of the water monitors for the soil comes up and says that it needs to be watered. He clicks a button on his smartphone and the pumps turn on and he starts watering his crops. It's like really, really cool what might happen technology-wise as we move forward. The problem with farming is, of course, it is very, very expensive. The biggest killer to farms in the United States is the death tax. When the parents die who own the farm, and they own so many thousands of acres, and the government comes in and says, well, all this acreage is worth $5 million. Well, you owe, because of the tax is 50%, you owe $2.5 million in taxes. How does a family who owns a farm that makes, $50,000, $75,000 a year, they don't put away, their value is in their land. And so therefore what they have to do is they have to sell the family farm to pay for the taxes. So what happens is you get these large corporate farms come in and take over the land. So it's one of the reasons why I'm very, very much against the estate tax, or what I would call the death tax. Of course, you have the high cost of doing this. You've got low incomes from it. Inelastic demand and supply. Who keeps texting me? No, it's somebody else. Declining farm exports, rising food imports, causes problems. One of the things that with our farm exports, I mentioned it, 1 year we had the mad cow disease was going on here in the United States. So countries in Europe were basically putting a ban on beef from the United States. We couldn't sell our beef abroad. That has a huge impact on the prices of beef. You have not only this, we didn't get into this, but also what is the problem with weather? What was it? Was it last year they had the frost in Florida? That they had snow in Florida, where killed a lot of some of the orange crops there, or at least killed the blossoms, so they weren't going to get as big of a crop. So there's a lot of things that go in that are hugely involved in this stuff. The other thing that too is, like in California, you have a growing population in California that needs what? Water. You have their crops in California that need what? Water. Well, they're saying that to grow one almond in California requires the same amount of water that 100 people need. What's more important, one almond or the water? So, but the thing is like, well, if you don't grow food, then at some point you don't have something to eat. And you might be able to drink, but you gotta eat. So there's this balance going on in some of these areas as to where is the water going to be used? Is it going to be used in homes for people to drink, or is it going to be used in farms and farming? And they were in a huge drought in parts of California that has actually, luckily for us in January, they got huge amounts of rain that actually helped bring them somewhat out of the drought, but it's still not enough water for them. Again, with the large crops, you got federal government help. They reduce the farm surpluses because they buy up stuff. They maintain farm income, so the government will come in and buy up crops to stabilize prices so farmers don't lose money. They also encourage, they negotiate with other countries for farm exports, and they help the new uses for farm products. How many of you knew that Henry Ford, being the inventor also that he was, had projects going on in when he was alive to make stuff out of soybeans? So he would actually, he had car seats made out of soybean plant material. He had all kinds of other things made out of soybean plant material during his time. Again, trying to find ways of more economically making a product that he had. So he was testing all kinds of different things. So that kind of goes with that, develop new uses for farm products. So think about the fact that if you could take a farm and you're taking the soybean itself, you do something with it, and then you take the rest of the plant and you make it into a car seat. You know, the fabric for a car. All kinds of different things that can be done. I mean, we don't just use rice to eat anymore. We use rice in different aspects as well. You know, if you drop your iPhone or your phone in water, one of the things they tell you to do is put it in rice, because the rice will actually absorb the moisture out of the phone.
Also dry rice too.
Huh?
We also dry rice too, rice burners.
Mm-hmm. Yes. They're called rice burners because they're made in countries that eat rice. But yeah, I mean, actually think about the fact that we do more and more fuel is made from plant material, corn. Jimmy Carter was one of the first presidents to add ethanol, a corn product, into our gas. Has that as an additive in the gas. So we're always finding different things to use our crops with. Okay, now our favorite, cities, decline and renewal. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week when I was talking about Jack Kemp and his ideas of enterprise zones inside of cities. One of the things are that we need to define what a city is. A city is a metropolitan area, usually of about 50,000 or more. Does that make Akron a city? Akron's population, anybody know what Akron's population currently is? Can you be a little bit more precise? So it's around 250,000 last I saw. So there's about 250,000 people in the Akron area. There's about 500,000 up in the Cleveland area, which is huge decline. What are they saying now?
In 2014, it was 197,000.
197, so we've lost. We continue to lose. That's the one problem with the with Akron, Cleveland area is every year it seems like the population size is dwindling. Those of you who are bright and well educated are leaving. You know, just like what we read last week in the brain drain for developing countries, we have the same problem going in with many of our cities, is that the smart and brightest are leaving the city to go someplace else. Why? Because there's no opportunities here in our cities. So what I find fascinating with this urban development is cities like Akron think, well, we'll build these cool things. We're gonna put in bike paths so you can ride your bike everywhere because millennials like to ride their bike everywhere. We'll create a dog park down here so people can bring their dogs and their dogs can run free and it'll be a dog park. Granted, it costs us $50,000 of taxpayer money to build this dog park. You know, we're gonna have all these metro parks. We're gonna build these community centers, and this will make. Has it worked? I mean, this is something I've been in the city of Akron for 20 years, more than 20 years now. And when I started here, I was with the city of Akron, and even back then, they were trying to do this renewal stuff to keep people here, and it hasn't worked because they don't understand. They think in order to keep people here, you have to have these cool amenities to make people want to come here. No. Oh, the thing that you want is jobs. People need jobs. People would stay in Akron and Cleveland area if there were actually jobs here and good jobs. You were gonna get it.
I was gonna say Cuyahoga Falls falls short by 350 people of a.
Of a city?
Yeah.
So I guess, does that make them a town?
They're a suburb of Akron.
Yeah, they're really considered suburbs. So Stowe, Monroe Falls.
They're all suburbs of Akron.
What's a mega?
They're nice cities, but.
What's a megalopolis?
I guess
Did you not read your class?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be New York? Because it's like a,
million?
I don't know. And also New York is like a combination of multiple cities, isn't it? Rather than one city.
Yeah, a megalopolis is like, has enough areas to have like.
Here's a trivia question for you. What is the largest city that has no major waterway? No. Although it might be now. Although I think Denver might have a waterway.
In the United States, you mean?
Yeah.
Large space-wise or population?
Population. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the largest, it's one of the biggest populated, but think about New York has the whole.
Does Kansas City have Mississippi?
No, Kansas City does not. I'm not sure if it has one of the other rivers though. St. Louis has the Mississippi. Indianapolis, last I had seen, Indianapolis is the largest city that does not have a major waterway. If you look at Indianapolis, it just plops straight down in the middle of the state. I mean, they're like, okay, where do we want to have the state capital? Oh, here.
Why?
Yeah, well, which is unique, because you think about Ohio and East, all of those states were formed when there was a lot of wilderness. So think of Columbus, think of, all of these cities in these places. Where are their bigger cities? All around major waterways. Why? Because that's how people got in and out of the state. And transit was all either canals, waterways, and of course then once the railroad started, it didn't matter whether you were near a waterway or not. You could build a city like Indianapolis.
It's also got Dallas and Atlanta too.
Yeah. Yeah, Dallas and Atlanta, and Atlanta I thought had a major waterway though. I'd have to look at that, but that was one of the things. The problem that you have with cities and suburbs, richer suburbs and poor cities. So what you have is, one of the big complaints, if you listen to anything up on Cleveland, is the fact that the suburbs have all the money, the inner city has nothing, and all the poor live in the inner city, and all the rich live and then what happens is the rich live in the suburbs, they drive into the inner city, they drive into the city and they work, and then they go back out to the suburbs. And the problem with that is, though, you pay taxes where you work, not necessarily where you live. So if you work in Akron, you pay Akron taxes, not just where you live. So it doesn't always work properly. And the sad thing is, the the way the cities are going, it is a huge problem. They up in Cleveland, they constantly talk about first Cleveland and second Cleveland. And second Cleveland is the one that gets ignored. First Cleveland is the one that gets the money. It's what they call just the inner city, where the crime is, the roads. You know, one of the big things that they talked about when the snow when the snow fell, what got plowed? The city, the main part of the city, where all the businesses were.
Two things. One, did you know New York City doesn't even get plowed?
Yeah, I don't think they can.
Yeah,
There's no place to put the snow.
well, plus it's busy 24/7.
Correct. And I think there's enough people driving on it that they don't have to worry about it.
So we should get more people in Akron.
That's right.
You know when you like drive through like neighborhoods and you see like those red lights or like porch lights
Mhm.
or like green lights? I learned that if you drive through the hood and see those, they actually mean things.
Probably.
Like green means they sell weed, red is prostitution,
The
yellow,
red light district.
yeah, yellow is like crack or something, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
have,
really crazy.
on my block, I have 3 green lights and we had a yellow light. They moved out.
Oh, you know what's funny though, is we have a green light outside of our house, and no, my dad doesn't know that.
Nice.
I know, so.
Maybe it's something Eric's into. He's making a lot of money on the
No,
side.
okay, the reason we had it is because he would put it up at Christmas time,
Yeah.
he would interchange the bulbs and stuff,
And then he
and
didn't take it
he
down.
forgot to take it down.
Yeah.
So,
So the problem that you have is, cities' financial problems, less income. The other thing that is an issue with cities is they've increased their income taxes, their tax rates, but they see a decrease in the amount of taxes they are. So what they have to do is they have to reduce public service. I am very concerned over what's going to happen over the next 10 years. The reason being is all of these city workers are under pension plans run by the state of Ohio. You're going to get to a point where all of these people are going to be retiring out of the city. We are going to pay people, the state of Ohio with taxpayer money is going to be paying these former workers of the state of Ohio money to stay home. And good money in many respects. A lot of these guys get 80% of what they made when they retired. The sad thing is, a lot of these guys will retire after 30 years. Then they will come back after sitting away for 6 months. They'll come back and collect another check as a consultant. So not only will they be paid as a consultant, they'll get paid in their pension. That's immediately should be deemed illegal. If you come back and work, you should no longer get your pension until after you stop working again. You can get paid as a consultant, but then I think what you're getting is double dipping. And I don't think that's going to be helpful. So I think these cities and some of these states like Ohio are going to get themselves in serious trouble over the next few years. And next 5 to 10 years, so what's going to happen to them? So they say, well, we need to have better public services in order to attract business, and that's not necessarily. Attain more federal and state funds, and again, trying to attract businesses and families back to the cities. Need for special services. Again, I would say roads and places to live are the key factors in bringing businesses in, and a place to actually build your factory at a reasonable amount. That is what is key. If you can't build, the problem is nobody wants to build a factory in the United States. I have a friend who's an architect, and we were talking about it, and his thing is banks won't loan money for a factory. They find it too high of a risk. So where do these businesses come up with money to build a factory to put people to work? It's hard. The reason being is if a factory goes out of business and a bank has to repo that land, what do they do with the factory? There's not a lot you can do with a factory, but banks love to build warehouses, places where you store stuff. Why? Because if this place closes, It's easy to get somebody else to come in and use a warehouse, whether turn it into a office building or use it again as another warehouse. But it's really hard to do something with a factory if the factory goes out of business. So you got slums and homeless. We see them, of course, the homeless every day on the corner. Where some of these people aren't homeless, they're lying, but some of them are. Employment problems, maintaining public services. Yes.
The one homeless guy down there, like we see him like literally, he probably wonders why you see this 4 times a week. But yeah.
Oh, the one with my tent?
Yeah.
Like the one,
He's pretty young.
I'm just gonna say it, the one black guy, like he's very social and, you know, sometimes bring him food or something, and you know, if he has something in the car, he's awesome.
There was this guy on the way to soccer, and we see him every week. One day, he was in a wheelchair. So my brother and I got him some coffee. Next week, he wasn't in a wheelchair. I was like, bro, I gave you coffee, and you're lying to me, you're not in a wheelchair. I was like, that's
Well, maybe he had a healing.
Maybe.
it is true. Maybe they randomly just possibly the wheelchair. I was so disappointed at him. I was like, I gave you coffee, and you're not even in a wheelchair.
So,
You never know their story. Maybe he is so desperate for money that he had to do something to try to get people to help him.
There's this place called the Haven of Rest.
Yeah.
The Haven of Rest.
Yeah.
And it really does help people.
Yeah.
Problem is it puts requirements on these guys and women.
Yes, why black people don't go there.
Correct? Proposal 1, cities should have urban redevelopment and renewal programs. Problem that you have is that when cities take money out of the public coffers to give to a business to start a business, is that fair? And who decides what business, what money is used? Proposal 2, the federal government should increase its aid to the cities. Again, who decides? Maybe we should give this idea of what we talked, or I mentioned last week, was the idea of enterprise zones, where we just tell businesses when they come in, and this ticks a lot of people off. We just say, you know what? You come here, you develop on this land, and for the next 20 years, no property taxes on the land. And just let these guys develop it. Second of all, make it easier to develop the land by relaxing some of the stringent environmental requirements on the property. And all of the things that they have to go through proposal. I know of a business that has had to deal with the EPA. So one of the things they had to do is they had to put in a new sewage system at this facility. So their design was is they were going to do, they went in, they go to get upgraded, they come up with this plan, they're going to build this brand new state-of-the-art system and have this put in. It's never been used before in the state of Ohio, and it's a newer system, works really well in other locations. They went in, made a proposal to the EPA. The EPA is like, I don't know. They did some more research, and then they finally said yes after a couple months. So they said yes. So they started working on it, getting it going. They're halfway through the project. They get a new EPA agent. The new EPA agent says, no, you're not going to do this. We're going to change this. What do you mean we're going to change this? No, we're going to change. So they had to go back, had to stop the project, go back to the EPA, spend another month or two arguing with the EPA before the EPA would allow them to continue on with the project as is. That's the problem with the EPA is you get one person who comes in there and says, yeah, let's do this moving forward. Then all of a sudden, the new agent comes in, and depending on who they are, well, I don't like that. So I'm going to say no. There's no honor in the agreement. And the government doesn't have to honor agreements. So in a small business like them, they can't fight it in court against the big, powerful EPA. I mean, even the city of Akron couldn't fight against the EPA on the new sewer project, trying to phase that in. EPA said, no, get it done now. So that's why everybody, if you live in the city of Akron, your rates went up at least double for your water and sewer rates. So,
I practically live in Akron.
well, practically and do is
I
The whole
practically live
difference in
Florida.
Yeah. I would like to live, well, you will be living in Florida if you get to go where you're gonna go.
Oh, I'm going.
Pensacola. Okay,
Next time
so,
I said school, man. I'm just-
so one of the things that we wanna look at is poverty. What is the poverty level? Cash income versus non. So this is what we look at when, right now, this is the numbers for 2017 for poverty. So if you make less, if you're a single person, you make less than $12,060, you're considered poverty. If you're a family of four and you make below $24,600, you're considered in poverty. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because in like the city of Akron, if you went to public high schools, of course, now I think everybody qualifies for free lunches. If you were a family of 4 or 5 and you made over 50,000, you could still qualify for the school lunch programs. So it just depends on which program you're going for. But I thought this was interesting where these numbers are. Well, here's the thing. In Alaska, you have to earn, it's 15,000 and below is considered poverty. So their cost of living so much lower that you're not considered poverty until you're 15,000. Or does that make it worse? It gets worse. I guess having 15,000 being the poverty is worse in Alaska. I would think it'd be cheaper to live in Alaska. I mean, there's not as many people, but I guess getting actually food to come to Alaska probably is harder.
Yeah, I've been to Alaska. The prices on stuff is
Higher, yeah.
It's too cold.
So who are America's poor? So here's what we got, minorities. All Americans, 195 million, and number of million in poverty is 17.8 white, and so that's about 9%. Black, it's 24%, yes.
Asians are the lowest.
Okay, do you know many Asians who aren't like required to work by their parents? It's all in the culture. It's all in the culture. You know, and most of the Asians have come over through immigration, whereas unfortunately, you know, a lot of the black population has come over through slavery. And the other thing too is the black population, in many respects, has been sold this lie that everything is somebody else's fault. Whereas in the Asian culture, you're supposed to take responsibility of yourself, and you're not going to embarrass the family, and it's a huge honor thing too.
Their poverty rate is
Doesn't faze me.
Their poverty
No.
rate is so Asian. I just said that.
Well,
Because
the thing is that what's-
1 people in poverty, their poverty rate is still higher than Asians, lots of money.
No, theirs is still higher than whites. But yeah, just because, so Hispanic is at 21%. And if you look at, actually, if you start dissecting this by age, and you look at kids, the unemployment and stuff for young black men is horrible. So, if you listen to a gentleman, Walter Williams, who's a black economist, he was the head of the Department of Economics at George Mason University, and he can't stand Jesse Jackson and the civil rights movement. He's much older, so he grew up at that time, and he goes, thank God I did, because even though times were tougher, I learned a lot more, and I'm more reliant on myself than on other people. And he goes, unfortunately, what black culture is taught today is an abomination, and just totally abusive to the black population. I had a friend when I worked at the city, and him and I used to talk about this all the time, and he would tell me, he goes, it is frustrating from a Black perspective because anytime he goes and he works, anywhere he would go for a job, there were always people there that assumed that he got the job because of affirmative action. And here, this guy was brilliant. He was hard worker, very smart. But I could tell it wore on him that he had to prove himself wherever he went. And it was very enlightening to sit down and talk to him about these things. Again, here's something that I think we really need to address. Why, as Christians, we should be against single parents and divorce. Look at what happens, the poverty rate for a single mother, 28%. Yeah.
And people blame that entirely on the wage gap.
Correct. And that's really not what it is. Single father, it jumps up. You can see here, look at the difference. It's almost 3 times higher for a single dad than a married couple. So if you want to stay out of poverty, your best avenue of staying out of poverty is being married. Yes. From both the male perspective and the female perspective. I know if I wasn't married, I'd spend money like a drunken congressman. Not like a drunken sailor anymore. It's drunken congressman. So, that's where that is. So you can see that one of the things as a country, should we not be promoting marriage? And in reality, that's what we have done in the past. Some more things on unemployment, reasons, of course, frictional unemployment, cyclical unemployment, and structural unemployment. It's not a big deal whether you know where these are from. They factor in the cyclical unemployment. They don't, Christmas holidays, you get people who get, more people get employed during Christmas time to fill those needed retail jobs for doing the rushes. That would be one of those cyclical or seasonal employment positions. Why are people unemployed? Low-skilled jobs have disappeared. I would actually disagree. I think one of the things that we're doing too much is we're telling everybody, in order to be successful in the United States, you have to go to college. That's not true. There's such a need for plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, guys who love to work, or even girls who love to work on cars. Just about a year ago, during the boom up in North Dakota and South Dakota from the fracking industry, they were paying guys right out of school $90,000 to work on heavy machine, to be able to, if you could be a mechanic, to work on heavy machinery, and they would even train you if you needed training in some of this area. 90 grand, $90,000. That'd be nice.
So fresh out of high school or fresh out of college? Fresh
out of high school. So if you got out of high school, if you graduated from high school and went and, because they have these high school, you could take the automotive program in high school now. Some of these schools are bringing that back in some of these places where you could go and learn how to fix and work on cars, work on heavy machinery. You graduate with that, they'll give you more training. And right out of school, they were paying these guys 90 grand.
18-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Think about it. If you're a single guy at 19 years old and you could go make 90,000 and do that for 5-6 years and bank most of that money, you come back and start your own business doing whatever you want. You just have to be creative. You just have to be willing to. It was interesting. I watched the movie The Accountant the other night. And the girl asked the guy, so why did you go into accounting? Well, I was looking at the statistical averages, and the amount of money that the accountant was making was completely on the rise right now. And it's like, he did it exactly for the right reasons. The demand was there, so he became an accountant to fit the need. And sometimes unfortunately we go, oh, I really want to do like women's studies or maybe I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh.
There are some degrees out there. Okay, black studies,
That's a thing.
yes,
Should we cover?
yes, black studies, women's studies. There's probably gonna be soon, wouldn't be surprised, transgender studies.
Right?
What,
don't need to study, just
what,
ask the
what
main
kind of
person.
degree do you get out of these?
Exactly, what are you gonna do with that? Go around talking to black people like, hey,
No,
I studied that.
you know what you end up doing? You become
I'm
a
so weirded
protester.
out by
You
this.
become a protester.
This is weird.
So,
I mean, like, I always wonder about the guys who wanna go into women's studies, I'm like, okay then.
no, guys, it's
They're
mainly
just
women.
desperate to understand women.
And
Right.
usually dating.
It's true.
It's mainly women that go into women's studies.
Stop.
And that's the sad thing is where we're going in this country. We gotta be careful about what we're doing. Poverty and unemployment,
Oh, so what did you do with your life?
of course, I don't, unemployment reduction, social insurance does not work, food stamps do not work. Housing assistance, these things don't work because they promote people to stay in poverty, not get out. In the 90s, Republicans came up with welfare reform. Unfortunately, a number of those things have been repealed. And one of those things that they wanted to do is work requirements, time limits on how much you get on food stamps. The sad thing is, some of these people on food stamps, they take their food stamps and they go buy better food than what I eat. They're buying
You should
steak.
see what they buy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I know. They don't buy
So-
it from me.
Okay, that's pretty much it. We'll see you guys next
You
week.
can afford this on food stamps and I can afford it.
Right.
One more week left.
One more week
With ice cream.
with ice cream.
So,
Yes, why do you think I do it?
This is my social life.
especially with those seniors. I've already graduated.
Hey, almost seniors should get extra ice cream.
No,
Yeah.
high school graduates should just get a whole thing.
You guys all crack me.
Good job.
Yeah.
I'm coming too.
People have wanted for decades. A college degree is what parents think. And it's not a bad thing to misunderstand. But look at who's been promoting this. The very people who have, I think, set what is a college degree if after you get it, you owe $250,000 or $40,000. I mean, you're working for how many years just to pay off the loan, for crying out loud? You'll notice that whenever there are any talks of budget cutbacks, there are never any talks of tuition cutbacks or room and board cutbacks. So we never hear about reductions of faculty taking salary cuts. Never hear about this. In fact, they end up getting more money, and they got sources of money otherwise. They got boosters, they got donors, they got glee clubs, they've got the government, they got any number of stuff, they got the athletic programs. A college education is a wonderful thing, but when you owe the next 20 years of your life to paying it off, what have they effectively done to the college education? The student loan program is a disaster. And in a market sense, it would show you, if this is what it costs, how many people have no business going? It's something that you can't afford, and yet people are talked into doing it no matter what, whether they can afford it or not, and they're talked into getting these loans. Because it's so important that you get a degree, you get an education. I do not quibble with that, but something's wrong with this. When the people behind all of this are the ones administering the loan program. Well, if you're graduating this spring and you're faced with a massive student loan bill, you need to hear about one of our new sponsors, SoFi.com. Interest rates attached to student loans are burdensome. They're not related to the market. They can be as high as 7.9%. You know what the price of money is? It's like 2% today. A student loan at 7.9 at the high end, that's not in relationship to anything going on in the market today. The government's paying 2.3% for its own debt, charging students as much as 7.9%. You can understand why students want to get out from underneath the burden because they want to start working for themselves. What? SoFi.com is a financial services company that has decided to focus on student loan debt. And what they do is this, they look for professionals carrying student loan debt who are doing it right. And they